Hey guys, I finally get to review Headspace fragrances for you. I know I did a video, not of me. I shot a video when I first discovered the brand in 2022 at Aix-en-Provence, just after when things were getting back to normal from COVID. And I really liked the idea of the brand and all the bottles and all that good stuff as well. So there's a video on the channel with Samuel, who I guess works for the brand, and he was explaining the fragrances. So if you're curious to learn a little bit more about the fragrances from him, you can go catch that video, and I'll link it in the info box as well. But I finally get to review the fragrances, and I've got 6 of them here to talk to you about, just in time for the launch of their new extracts as well, because they're launching some extracts. I'm excited for these extracts as well, and I'll actually cut to a video after the outro of me talking about the extracts as well. So I'm curious about the extract, and I haven't got my nose on them yet. But the fragrances that I'm going to talk to you about today are 6 of them with various perfumers. Those include GENIEVRE. This is the juniper berry one. Definitely one of my favorites from the line. We've got KIRSCH and we've got Myrrh. We also have Rose. Then we've got Sage. Finally, Santal. I'll let you know which are my favorites, and after I'm done talking to you about each of these fragrances, I'll go over them and tell you the ranking as well. But along the way, I'll talk to you about them as well and tell you which ones I'm enjoying over the others. Let me know before I get started, what are your favorite fragrances from this house, and if you have discovered them already or not. Also, you can find the fragrances selling at Neiman Marcus, and I'm actually linking to Neiman Marcus directly through the video. So if you are in the market to get any of these fragrances, you can directly shop within the YouTube video. So it's directly linked to Neiman Marcus, and the product should appear as I'm talking about it. So if the availability is there, of course. If it's not, then I have also a link to Headspace website in the info box. So let's talk about the first fragrance. I'm doing this in alphabetical order. It turns out to be one of my favorites from the line. This is GENIEVRE. I think that's how you say it in French. Refers to juniper. So good. I love this. It's super fresh, crisp, a bit metallic and sharp, but aromatic and spicy and a bit smoky. There's a little bit of darkness here. And I feel like when you're actually smelling the juniper berries themselves off of the plant, the bush, or the tree, there's a slight smokiness in there, and I think that they brought out some smokiness in here as well. But it's an overall spicy, aromatic, woody fragrance that is super fresh with citruses, and of course crisp, clean, metallic, ice cold. All of these things come to mind with this kind of a fragrance, and juniper berries provides that. Of course, I see that all the time, and I'm a gin tonic drinker. I love my gins. And so I get similarities between this fragrance and, like a gin tonic, because it's got a very ice cold gin tonic vibe. But GENIEVRE is created by Fanny. It's featuring notes of mandarin, pink pepper, juniper berries, cedarwood, olibanum. So these are the notes for this fragrance. And again, it's definitely one of my favorites. I've actually become a big fan of juniper in fragrances, really enjoy its invigorating, clean, crisp qualities. And of course, it does tend to go ice cold, and I love that about it. And this fragrance works best in the heat. I started testing these out later in the summer before I went to Europe. So I was actually learning it just a little while ago, experiencing the way these fragrances are wearing and figuring out which are my favorites. So this GENIEVRE actually works perfect in the heat. The humid heat is perfect for this because it's providing that ice cold quality about it. But there's a greenness about it as well. It's very aromatic. As I said, it's crisp. There's a realistic green herbal, like tree branchy kind of smell. And of course, for me, juniper kind of almost reminds me a little bit of cypress. But for me, cypress doesn't go as crisp and clean and metallic like juniper does. And of course, I like that about it. But here, beneath the green aromatic spiciness, there's actually some depth with like a slight resinous smokiness with woods as well. It's such a nicely done fragrance. Absolutely, really, really love this one. And it's actually, as I said, a perfect fragrance to wear when it's warm outside. But also, I really love the way it smells any time of the year because it's just really like a gin tonic pretty much, or the actual gin. You've got that very like clean, crisp, kind of spicy flavor in a smell form here. So this is Genevièvre, one of my favorites from the line. I'll give you my ranking at the end of the video, but I think if you like fragrances that go clean, crisp, metallic, ice cold and things like that, definitely try that one. I think you'll be very happy with it. But this next one's also really nice. For me, I prefer Genevièvre more than KIRSCH, but KIRSCH is actually a really great cherry leather fragrance. There's been so many cherry fragrances that are similar to Lost Cherry. This is nice that it's not smelling so much like Lost Cherry. This is also created by Paul Guerlain, and he's a IFF perfumer, which I didn't mention. I think all of these fragrances are created by IFF perfumers, but I think a lot of them, especially like the new extracts, are all created by Julien Rasquinet, who's actually not part of IFF anymore, International Flavors and Fragrances. But a lot of the perfumers that we're going to mention here are definitely IFF perfumers, including Paul Guerlain, who's part of the Guerlain family. But this is, again, it's leathery fragrance, slightly boozy, cherry liqueur, syrupy as well. It's almost like you've got a cherry liqueur syrupy experience. It's almost like this like thick, more fruity, jammy, syrupy and booziness behind it. But there's leather in there. And it's, again, as I said, it's not acting like Lost Cherry, which is great because those fragrances are getting a bit tiring. And here, it's something different. Still cherry, but you've got a new, unique way of experiencing the cherry and not smelling like Tom Ford's Lost Cherry. So this is Red Fruit Accord, Cherry Accord, Saffron, Iris Concrete, Rum Absolute, Leather, Oak Moss Absolute, Ambrox. But really wonderfully done, I have to say. The leather doesn't come in too much on the strip. It comes more on the skin. It's actually kind of smoky leather as well. But I like, as I said, the jamminess, the syrupy qualities of the cherry. Not a kind of, it's more of like a mature, a bit more masculine take on cherry, rather than cherry fragrances tend to be a bit girly. And Lost Cherry does have that kind of quality about it. This is more of a manly cherry fragrance, if that makes sense. But really nicely done, I think. I think Paul Guerlain did a great job on this one. And actually, I'm actually liking a lot of his creations that I've actually, put my nose on. And this is definitely one of the best. It's not one of my favorite. I mean, it's not like my top favorites, but I consider this one of my favorites from the 6 that I'm talking about. So that is KIRSCH by Headspace. Let me know if you've sampled these 2 fragrances so far. All right, next up, we're going to the fragrance Myrrh. So this is a Julien Rasquinet creation. Actually, there's something so familiar about this fragrance. I'm trying to figure out what it is. I'm reminded of something, and I can't figure it out. It'll come to me eventually. I'll eventually pick out the fragrance it's reminding me of, and I go, oh, it's reminding me of that. But to me, this is a warm, spicy, myrrh-focused amber fragrance. It features cinnamon, myrrh, patchouli, olibanum, and cedarwood. So these are the only notes, and it's quite warm, spicy. It might be the fusion of the cinnamon with the myrrh that's in here that's reminding me of something. It's got this kind of very resinous, ambery touch, but to me, it doesn't smell like your traditional amber resin fragrances or, resinous amber fragrances. That myrrh and cinnamon together are so strong. I think I'm getting something green behind everything. There's a greenness, maybe something aromatic as well, which is not credited here, but the patchouli is quite prominent. And so maybe that's providing some greenness with this. So it's warm and spicy. It's quite resinous, slight fizziness as well. There's something fizzy that comes up with the myrrh in fragrances. Gives you like a slight Coca-Cola syrupy vibe, but I'm actually almost thinking like, sometimes when you go to a restaurant or a theater and you ask for Coca-Cola, and you know how they make them, it's with syrup and they add the fizziness, the sparkling water or soda water in there. So it's the cola that's syrup before it's turned into, the fizzy drink. So there's a slight syrupiness happening with myrrh in the base. And the fact that the cinnamon's in there, it's kind of making it, giving it, I guess, even maybe some old school vibes. But very warm and spicy. This actually turned out to be one of the longer lasting ones that I've tested out from the house. And definitely one of my favorites for sure from the house as well. And it's Julien Rasquinet. He does great work with fragrances. Between the two that I'm going to talk to you about, the other one's more of my favorite, but I quite like this one. I like that it gives me some old school vibes, giving me the like a cola syrupy, you know, texture and feel. And I like the whole slight holiday vibes it's giving me as well, in addition to that kind of slight greenness, which I think I'm getting from the patchouli. But either way, that's Myrrh from the perfumer Julien Rasquinet. Unfortunately, even though I'm a big fan of Dominique Ropion, this rose just didn't work for me. I don't know what it is about this rose, and I guess I can't love everything from this perfumer. He does great work, especially with rose. I mean, Portrait of a Lady is a masterpiece. But this one, I don't know. I don't get this one as much. Not a bad fragrance. I don't click with it. So this is Dominique Ropion, as I said, featuring notes of blackcurrant buds. There's rose here, geranium, tarragon, vetiver, frankincense, and benzoin. So it's rose in a kind of a garden salad direction. So it's quite green and vegetal and herbal and aromatic. But beneath it all, there's warmth, there's slight smokiness because there's resins, and it's a bit ambery. But I don't know, I think the idea might be somewhere in between Frederic Malle's Rose and Queer and L'Ombre Down Low, kind of giving me those kind of vibes, and almost like those two fragrances are mixed together, but going maybe a little bit into something like Synthetic Jungle as well by Frederic Malle, because it's got a lot of like chopped, not veggies, in this case, like, you know, herbs, and kind of giving me the stems idea. I don't know. Beneath it all, behind it all, I'm getting something aquatic, slight marine touch, and I don't know where that's coming from. But this one actually, I think it's at the bottom of the list of the fragrances I'm talking about here. But I don't know. That's just me, maybe. I wanted something a bit more robust and intense with with this fragrance. But I think that's not the direction they were going for. And also maybe it might be the tarragon. I'm not too familiar with tarragon in fragrance. I like the herb itself, but something is rubbing me the wrong way with this one, unfortunately. But I think you might like it. It's Rose by Dominique Ropion. And let me know if you're a fan. All right, then we've got my favorite of the bunch that I'm talking about today. It's Santal, once again created by Julien Rasquinet. This was actually instant love when I first sampled it in 2022 at Essence. I felt like, I mean, I like sandalwood fragrances, but I've never experienced it with a fizzy, fruity, champagne-y vibe. So that's what you get with this one. So behind that fizzy, sparkling effervescence, you've got something creamy, milky as well. So it's almost like two sides, like almost like competing with one another, but in a really good way. Really good way. So this is Julien Rasquinet's Santal from Headspace. It features red fruits, saffron, rose, sandalwood, olibanum, patchouli, heart, and vetiver. Really awesome fragrance. So I like the two worlds. It's almost like Jekyll and Hyde. You've got this side and that side, but they get along, you know, they do get along. The fizziness, the sparkling effervescence, as I said, is a nice contrast to the calm and cozy, milky qualities of the sandalwood here. So I think it's this fruitiness and the rose and maybe some other notes mixed together that are creating this fizziness, because there's no real like a champagne-y like effect, but I think the idea might be champagne, because that's what I'm experiencing, like a rosé champagne or something. But it's wonderfully done. Behind it all also, there's some light smokiness, maybe like light ambery touches, resinous ambery touches. But for me, it's about how the sandalwood and its creamy, milky qualities works with the fizziness and the fruitiness and the rosiness of the kind of champagne-like qualities. Really lovely. I love that. Really great fragrance from the house of Headspace. It's Santal. And then the last fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is Sauge. It's sage. This one actually also kind of has two sides. So it's clary sage being used here. When you first spray the fragrance, it smells like a mass market men's fragrance. Then eventually it becomes something more exciting and interesting. So I think it's the kind of note that they're highlighting here is the clary sage, which is used quite often in men's designer fragrances. So this Sauge is created by Caroline Demure. This is Madagascan black pepper, angelica root, clary sage, geranium, cumin, cypress, olibanum, tonka beans, cypriol, sandalwood. Lots going on with this one. It does get ambery, woody in the dry down. But yeah, up top, there is something very familiar. There's a familiar smell in the top as soon as you spray it. It reminds you of some men's fragrances out there. I can't pinpoint what they are. So when I'm reminded of that, it feels like it's a bit like I've experienced it, kind of a thing. But you know what? That's not necessarily a negative. In my case, I'm not a big fan of a lot of mass market men's fragrances, so it's a bit negative. But for some other people, it might be more of a positive. When it's drying down, it becomes a bit more resinous, ambery, and a bit more woody and spicy is when the fragrance gets exciting. I guess I've figured out that since I took a trip to Provence last June, July to go to the lavender fields, I've decided and realized that I'm not a big fan of clary sage since it is used quite often in a lot of men's designer fragrances. Once I smelled it, I figured out that I don't click with it as much as I probably should. I all along I thought sage, clary sage, they might be very similar. They to me they smell so different. And that's what this fragrance is giving me the vibes of. I think there's a familiar smell with it. And the fact that they're highlighting clary sage here, it's reminding me of some, fragrances I might have smelled. I mean, I'm not saying it's identical, but that's what it's giving me. But as I said, the dry down on this one is quite lovely. It's just a start that I'm having a bit of an issue with. Anyway, that's Sage from the House of Headspace. Now I'll tell you my ranking. Santal is number 1. Really in love with it. I absolutely love it. GENIEVRE is number 2. Absolutely in love with these two from this house. 2 of my favorites. So the next 2, I had a hard time deciding where to put what. So I'm going to put Myrrh at number 3 and KIRSCH at number 4, but it could be a toss-up. Finally, Sage at number 5, Rose at number 6. This could also have been toss-up, but I kind of appreciate Sage. There's a familiar smell about it. Rose just bothered me for some reason. I don't know what. But those are my thoughts on these fragrances. Really great collection. I want to explore more. And hopefully you guys will explore the house as well. Let me know what you're familiar with the house. And also let me know if you've sampled the extracts yet. I'm really looking forward to those extracts. I hope I can get my hands on them, nose on them. But in the meantime, let me know your thoughts on these. Do you have a favorite fragrance from this house? What are they? Any of my fragrances that I sampled today from this house, the 6 that I sampled, do you appreciate? Do add a comment and let me know. And thanks so much for watching today's video, guys. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Don't forget to subscribe and click that bell icon as well and give a thumbs up for this video. See you guys later. Bye-bye.